came about, the reason that I even was doing this, is my mother had died. She died on October 23rd of 2022. And she's a diabetic, so that was the biggest main contributing factor to her death. But she did get dementia at the very end and had kind of lost it. And in the process of losing it, sometimes what they can do is become very violent with things and violent with her possessions. And so after she died and we went in to clean up her house, we came to realize that we had no address books, no letters, nothing to show us where our relatives were in Japan. I knew it was Shinkoji-machi, which is 20 miles from Tokyo, but other than that, I really had no idea where the relatives were. And then it became really important for me to go and visit them, whoever was left, because I hadn't been there in 36 years, but whoever was left, and to let them know, that my mother had passed away. She had a twin sister there. So when we arrived in Japan, so how we found out, I had no idea where the address was. I just remember Shinkoji-machi. And then, so what I did is during the Thanksgiving of that year, my son came over and I was telling him, what I was worried about. Actually, it was a year after the Thanksgiving. And I was telling him what I was nervous about. No, I take it back. It was 2022. And I don't know where they live. He goes, well, do you think you could find it? I go, I don't know. I think there's like 50,000 people that live in that little town. And so what he did was he set me up on the couch. He hooked me up to Google Maps, and we put it into real time. And what I literally did for like maybe 2 hours is I scrolled through every street in Shinkoji-machi. And so as I scrolled through the streets, I kind of remembered it, from 36 years before. And then we had also visited there when I was 16. And so I'm going through every one of the streets, and I remember, there was a curve, almost like a U-turn, where my uncle lived one corner, my aunt lived across the street, and then my grandma, my Obachan, she lived right as you turn to go up a hill. And there was also a family cemetery there. I mean, I could remember it as plain as day, but I had no idea other than the town. So as I went through this, looking at every town, I'd find a bend in the road and I would follow it in real time, almost like as if I'm walking through that road without actually being there. And my aunt was a pretty famous singer over there. So what made it easier for me is that most of the houses are very modest. It's not what you think. They almost look like prefab houses. But my aunt's house was very different. It was probably like, I'm going to say 4,500 square feet, and it was a brick structure. And I remember that it had like an overhang that you drove under with a gate, and that's how you got into her house. So when I'm looking at a small town like that looks like mostly like prefab type houses, it was pretty easy to find my aunts and recognize it. So we did find it, did recognize it. Then we tried to get information, but it's not like you have not, like you can get information here. They're very protective about privacy. So number one, you have to have at least 50% Japanese blood when you're asking these questions. And so my sons are both 25%. And so I had to be involved with asking the questions. And basically it came down to that we had to go to the jurisdiction and then we could ask the question. And it would be the jurisdiction not of where I think there are, but where I think my mother was married to my dad. So we took the marriage certificate and everything, and we weren't going to get any confirmation or ability to get a phone call into them, just by asking for it. We had to go there. So on our epic trip, my sons, they're very into the Japanese culture. One of my sons is a professional screamer, and then my other son works for a Fortune 500 company as an analyst. So they're very computer savvy, both of them. And so they wanted to go with me. I kind of thought, well, this might be the only time I ever go. So it was just the boys. My 2 sons and myself went over there to actually visit and then, be a tourist, but then also to go to this town. Now, when I got there, we were going to go pretty early in the trip, but I got kind of scared because I didn't know how they were going to react, with the news. And then my mother had done a couple of things that could have put us in a bad light, her in a bad light with her relatives over there. And so I didn't know how they would react to us. And so I said, I told my son, yeah, I think I'm going to hold off on it. Let's just go take the bullet train to Kyoto. So that's what we did. We did a bunch of other stuff. And I have it all in videos, which I'm going to compile it and then be able to show you guys. It was a really great trip. So on the last, the second to last day that we were there, I kind of thought, well, I may never come back here again. I mean, I don't know if I ever will. It was 11-hour flight over there from California. And so I told my sons, yeah, I think I want to go. So we had plans, but they were very good about it. So we took a couple of trains, I think 3 trains, and I'm pretty sure it was 20 miles away, but it took us an hour to get there, with the train system. And then once we got there, we're sitting out there waiting for a bus. And I was a little frustrated because I would be just like, let's just take a private limo. They have limos over there, and also cars, So that's what I wanted to do, is just to take a private car or a taxi. So finally we did end up doing it because we could not figure out the bus schedule. It was terrible. And my son, who's the analyst, can speak, read, and write Japanese. So, if he can't figure it out, I can. And so we took a taxi. We knew generally where we wanted to be. And the guy took us about as close as he could. We were in an apartment complex. And so then we got out of the taxi. They said it's around here, around the corner. That's as close as he could get, I guess. So we got out of the car and we're walking down the road. 3 tall Americans, in a town where nobody speaks English, and or at least they won't admit to it. And we just looked about as out of place as possible. And so we're walking down the street, and I saw an older lady. She had a dog with her, and she was giving us the stink eye. She was like, "Who are you guys?" She didn't say it, but she was really looking at us, like, "Who are these people?" And so we went on down the corner, and we found my aunt's house. I was just shocked. So it's a big brick house, like I said, and we turned left there. And then we went down to the other corner. Now, where my grandma's house was, I remember it very picturesque. It's at the base of a hill. There's like a bamboo forest behind it. There's actually a cave back there where they had mushrooms. They grew mushrooms. And so I go there, and now there's a house that kind of looks like my grandma's house, but there was another house on the left-hand side, and then maybe 3 houses on the right-hand side, and one of them was a shop. So we're walking around. I can see people in the house closing their curtains. Like, oh my God, there's somebody out there. They're closing their curtains. And I heard later they were locking their doors. So here's 3 tall Americans, and we're videotaping, taking pictures of the houses, walking down the street. And so after looking, I said, you know what, I got enough, just from looking. I don't really want to interrupt anybody. I felt really like I didn't want to interrupt them. And so my sons looked at me and they were like, well, we'll go up there, Dad. I said, well, I'll just stay over here by the stop sign, which was by my aunt's house. And then my sons went down, and they were talking to the guy that was in this metal building working like on a body shop on my grandmother's property, old property. And then all of a sudden the lady came out, and they were saying, they were saying my mom's maiden name, Matsue Mori. And right when they heard that, they were like, "Oh, are you David Chan?" And they go, "No, we're not. That's our father over there." And I'm over by the stop sign, like waving at them, like, "Oh yeah, I'm over here." And they said, "Oh, come in." And so we went back in, and the lady that had come out to meet with my sons, that was Sally Chan. I mean, last time I saw her, I was 16 years old, and I think she would have been, I'm going to say like maybe 10 or 11, maybe 12. But she was very, very young. You know, I remember her as very young. And now she was 60. She was 60 years old, so would have never recognized her in a million years. And she could not speak any English. So then my aunt came over, Kimiko. That was the lady that was giving us the stink eye in the road. And then once she realized who I was, you know, she was very, very nice. And then she had a friend from Yokohama, and he could speak really good English. In fact, he'd been a builder over here in California. So he was able to interpret a lot of stuff for us. That made it very pleasurable. So we went in, you know, we had a lot of sushi delivered. They got some sake, they got beer, they got, they started to cook like this, the steak, you know, on this little grill in like a living room kind of thing. And it was really great to meet with them. And when I told them about my mother dying, Kimiko was really taken back, because she thought that she would never know what happened to my mom, you know, what my mom went through, because she had left the whole family, you know, to make the sacrifice to move to California with my father. So in the next videos I have, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it, but it did have a happy ending. We did get to spend a good, I think we were there for 10 days. And I have a lot of pictures of different places, and I'm going to narrate them and then let you know what's what. And it was February of 2024 that we went there. A little cold, but it was really nice to meet the family. And I still talk to my cousin. Her name is actually Salary. We always called her Sally Chan because it was easier for us. I didn't even know her real name. And her mother is my mother's twin sister, Mitsuko. So I'll talk to you more about it, but it was it really turned out great, and I want to share that with everybody and share my pictures of Japan. Thank you much, and have a great day.